Hello, my name is Anne-Marie Barrett, and today we'll be talking about a little bit about my knowledge on organic food farming and organic gardening in comparison to what we're used to, what we've been used to, which is commercial food growth or food farming, and compare both. And if you've noticed, more recently, organic gardening has showed up. Regular food stores now have its own little section for organic gardening, and it's pretty cool. So we're going to discuss a little bit about why it's important to have organic gardening, and yes, some negatives about that too. Some thoughts related to organic gardening. So we're going to be talking about several things. First of all, just organic gardening in general. Second, the ecology, and lastly, the effects on human health. So for about the last 50 years, or just recently within the several decades, World War II has increased the population size, meaning that the necessities for food has also increased. And along with technology growth has also increased the need for that food as long as a population. So a lot of innovative ideas have come with. First of all, one of the innovative ideas is using petroleum as fertilizer. Then we have herbalizers or herbicides and pesticides. So the herbicides actually kill the weeds that will then take over and kill the plants that we're growing. So the soil itself is really important to prepare. You need about 3 feet of soil. So through the use of technology, we've learned how to clean the soil of so many chemicals and not continue to use that dirty soil that has chemicals used. So now instead of throwing out the bad and using new, we're able to do that. So now with technology changing, we have different types of farming being introduced, and the way of farming is different. Now, it is important to understand that farming really is a lot of work. It's through farming and through water and animals that we are able to save the earth. So farming requires a lot of that ecology work. For example, animals come and graze the land. We need to use their body waste in order to help grow our plants or whatever it is that we're trying to do. And it's through that process of using their body waste, but also using them for meat and feeding ourselves, and using antibiotics and hormones within, so that they can grow faster. That is okay with the animals, and yet with food we try not to do the same kind of system, right? So when animals have those chemicals within them, we eat them, and our body also absorbs those chemicals. So we've noticed with the water released from the gardens that use a lot of chemicals, the water itself has the chemicals being washed out as well, which then we ingest. So really, food doesn't really need any chemicals because they're already getting chemicals from the water that we just use to water our farms. So even going to a food store, you see you see organic, it's really important to check certification. The certification makes sure that the state and the government is looking over those facilities that are growing the plants and making sure that they're following appropriate guidelines, that they're not using different things, different chemicals. So there's an independent group that goes and checks those farms and those facilities ever so often and grants them that certification. If you see organic but you don't see any certification, it means there are some parts of their farming that are organic but other parts are not. So that's the difference between certified and not certified organic products in stores. So let's go ahead and explore how organic just how it tends to be done. So usually with organic farming, it is required to have from about 1 to 3 acres of land, not anything bigger than that, and that's to be able to really look after your food. So you have half of your farm which you're rotating. So one area of the farm you're growing 1 year, and then you harvest that food, and then the next year the other side of the farm is what is being used to grow food, and that's rotated every year. So along with organic farming and gardening, there's a lot of technology being used with that as well. Research regarding soil, regarding chemicals, regarding E. coli, and different things are being researched, as well as compost. So we want to make sure that there's no food waste. So if something does die, then we go ahead and reuse that in a different way. So with composting, there's been a lot of problem arising with E. coli being found. So a lot of manure is being used in order to start growing and composting the different plants, and yet the bacteria from the animals has showed up in the foods and has become E. coli. So now there's different ways to face those problems and resolve those problems. Let's go ahead and talk about how we can go ahead and grow home gardens, and like in your own garden. So something not too big, not too small. So you have to be able to match your herbs. So for example, basil, parsley, we can go ahead and grow those together, but we have to make sure that the bugs are confused when trying to get your food. So if you have lettuce and you have strawberries next to it, that's really good to grow. That way the bugs are confused with that as well. So you want to have different kinds of herbs that mask the smell of the fruits that you have there. So calendula is another type of flower that you're able to garden and put next to your herbs. That way you mask those the smells of your herbs or your different vegetables. So bugs tends to be really smart. So if you use like Safer soap or just soap in general, dish soap, that is really good. And it's just like kind of basic soap, right? So if you spray, it doesn't ruin your plants and it doesn't hurt your plants, but you're able to mask the smell. And you're able to wash your plants too. It's very biodegradable as well, so go ahead and spray that with your plants. I've already tried it one time, and actually, it doesn't work. My best way is just really, my friend actually is the one that told me that. You really have to experiment time and time again and figure out how to manage to keep those bugs away. So now that you're done with all that, make sure you put buckwheat. And those flowers are really good for protecting your bugs, or for attracting bees, wasps, light bugs, and pests. So those kind of animals will make sure that your pests go away. So go ahead and make sure you plant the buckwheat a year before you start gardening. So make sure that when you are going to the store and you're buying things, that you buy organic things. That way you're supporting those farms that are helping us. And that way, so we support the farms and they support us. Really, organic food has a lot of benefits, including our health. So like, for example, well, one thing that really is tough with organic is the cost and the delivery. With the delivery, it has to be a really quick delivery and cannot stay, just like commercial food can stay longer than like a week, 2 weeks. With organic food, within a couple of days, the food is no longer good. So with that, for example, like potatoes, onions, squash, and cabbage, those can last about a week. But other things that are very soft and have a lot of liquid, those can be done within like 2 or 3 days. So having to go to the food store every 2 or 3 days can be tough. So some people buy more commercial fruits and some organic vegetables. So you can go half and half on both, and that's totally fine. So here at the East Coast, with farming, organic farming tends to be stronger in the West Coast, and then that's being delivered here to the East Coast. It's not really fresh here in the East Coast. So what I do tend to do is buy a few organic things and compensate with commercial things afterwards. So now with commercial food. So with commercial food, they're really getting worried because organic food is increasing in popularity over the years. And people are becoming more and more fascinated with organic foods. So what's happening with commercial foods and commercial farms are really changing their tactics and using less pesticides and herbicides in order to be able to match and get on the same playing field as organic foods. Now, it is cheaper, although commercial food, it is cheaper and it lasts longer. They do ruin soil, they do ruin water, they ruin a lot of more things in general. So what truly is more beneficial here? If you continue buying organic food, that means that commercial food companies will start to change a little bit, change their methods and processes, and really try to help prevent our health to ruin. So the NIH, so National Institute for the Health, sent out reports letting us know that from or commercial food, about 35% of that food causes cancer. It causes a lot more problems, family generative diseases, and it all comes from those chemicals and that medicine used from commercial food. So along with that, it also depends obviously on your diet and what do you eat. Do you eat high fat food or not? So that's another thing that we have to consider is when choosing to buy organic or commercial food. Which one will have the biggest impact on our well-being, on our children, on our future children, and on our ecology?